We're back.
Oh! Bon appetit.
Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Volume... Fruit fly. Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is Jamie and Julia. I'm Jamie. In my hands is Julia Childs, Mastering the Art of French Cooking. And we were just going through this book, cooking up every recipe I find until there is no more. I'm in the beef stew chapter today, and that's the page for the Boeuf Bourguignon. We all know it, we all love it. That's not what we're on about today. We're turning the page to Carbonade à la Flamande. Beef and onions braised in beer. So that differentiates itself from the Bourguignon, which is beef in red wine. So I believe this is a Belgian beer stew. That's what I know it as. Beer is typical for the Belgian braise and gives quite a different character to beef from the red wine of the Bourguignon. A little brown sugar masks the beer's slightly bitter quality, and a little vinegar at the end gives character. I mean, you want a stew with character. Let's get started. After I do some mise en place. I gotta start off with 1.5 pounds of sliced onions, which, why did I do that? I've just cleaned up everything. Don't make a mess, you doofus. Into the garbage receptacle. 1.5 pounds of sliced onions. I've been told many times that if you have a sharp knife, you can avoid the tears. And sometimes that's true, and sometimes it's not. I think it has something to do with how many onions I'm using. That's all the onions that I had. It's like 6 onions, medium-sized. This is around 3 pounds of chuck beef. Before I started Jamie and Julia, I had no idea what chuck was. Actually, I went to the butcher and I asked the dude and he said, what are you going on about? Although I was living in the UK at the time and I don't think it's a term that's thrown around there too often, is chuck. But you go to an American grocery store, it's everywhere. So,
boy, don't I seem silly now.
But at the time, I didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. So I do now.
It's just like it's a part of the beef that gets a lot of like movement. So it's like it's a...
This is considered a stewing beef. It's perfect for like a long cook like what we're about to do. Because I need this to become tender enough that when my fork hits it, it just kind of like falls apart. Wash my hands. One cutting board to another cutting board.
Preheat the oven. What?
Cut the beef into slices around 2 by 4 inches, half an inch thick. So I'm just gonna go with that thickness. Thank you very much. 4 inches across, 2 inches give or take. How embarrassing. He's gotta get his ruler. Honestly, I just can cut this up however I want. I mean, I'm the boss here, right? You know, when you're looking at this kind of beef and you're like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? All this like fatty stuff in between all the good stuff, right? Don't worry about it. When you're cooking a piece of beef for this long, that stuff renders itself down and turns into this like, into the fatty stuff that it cooks itself in. So it's just a beautiful thing. Just pat it dry with paper towel because it's not gonna brown if it's damp. Rendered pork fat or a good cooking oil, 2 to 3 tablespoons. Heat the oil almost till smoking. So I'm gonna brown each side really quickly, a few at a time. So dry one, add it. But I don't wanna crowd the frying pan. So this is just a few minutes per each side. In go the onions. I'm gonna brown the onions lightly, so I gotta cook them on a moderate heat in the cooking fat from all this stuff. 10 minutes, these should be lightly browned. They should be done. Onions have browned. Season with salt and pepper. Stir in the garlic, which is mashed. So I'm assuming this is what this means. I have my garlic cloves mashed into the onions. They're tiny cloves, so I'm gonna add a couple more for good luck. Don't worry, I'm using the back part of the knife, not the sharp part, for all the people that are about to type in the comments. Stir that all together. Just put this aside for a moment. This is one of my favorite dishes right here, the braising dish. And since I'm braising beef, it's beautiful, even though she says casserole dish. Arrange half the browned beef in the casserole dish. Braising dish. Okay, that's about half. Season lightly with salt and pepper. Spread half the onions over the beef. Repeat with the rest of the beef. "236 milliliters, like half a pint of beef stock." Heat the stock in the same frying pan as the cooking juices. Scrape in all the coagulated cooking juices and then add it to the beef. I'm using a Belgian brown ale as my beer of choice today. A roasted aroma with caramel notes. 3/4 to 1 pint of lager. Lager, I'm using an ale. She says lager. She can do whatever she wants, so I can do whatever I want.
1 pint is 16 fluid ounces.
Oh. So it's like 1.5. One for me, one for you. Add enough beer so that the meat is barely covered. Barely covered. Oh my God. There's no lose-lose in this situation, but I'm gonna need more beer just to cover it a bit more. I'll drink the rest. Once this looks as beautiful as it does, add in 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. You gotta stir it in. Well, it's in there. I don't know how well of a stirring job I did. Okay, I'm adding a bay leaf. Don't let me forget about that. I never really even know what they do. 6 parsley sprigs. I'm just gonna add them in next to the beef. I need space. This is about 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, chopped up finely. I don't know if I was supposed to chop it up finely, that was my choice. She says tie it up with the parsley, but bring this back to the stove to a simmer. Lid goes on, place on the lower part of a preheated oven, 350 Fahrenheit. And that goes in for 2.5 hours later. Cool. Now what? Okay, where the hell is that bay leaf? Oh, there it is. Parsley, you have served your purpose. 3/4 ounce of corn flour, 2 tablespoons of a wine vinegar. That ought to do it. Remember what she said at the beginning about wine vinegar. A little vinegar at the end gives this dish some character. And what I gotta do is skim the fat. There's plenty of it in here today. Pieces of the beef that never broke down completely, so they're just kind of hanging on by a thread. This piece here, it's just like, you can just kind of take the fat off it. A lot of fat. But I mean, it's rustic. It's rustic. Drain the cooking liquid out of the casserole into a saucepan. The wine and cornstarch mixture, add it in with the strained sauce. And probably mix the hell out of that while it's there. Onto the heat for a few minutes to simmer. I was way too cavalier with the vinegar. I should have used a measuring cup. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. So I countered that with a little sugar and a little salt. And now we got ourselves a sauce. Pour the sauce back onto the meat and a little parsley on top to complete the dish. Order up. Beef that just falls apart as soon as you touch it. It's delicious. What I found with that stew was that I had to tweak kind of the flavor profile of the sauce at the end. As she says, vinegar adds a little character to the dish, but I found that it was just a bit too much character. Correct your seasoning and get it to where your wheelhouse is, and you're gonna be a happy camper like I am. Because that soup warmed my cockles. I think that's the expression. I certainly hope it is. So that's what I think about the stew. Oh, what did I think about it? I really liked it. Head over to patreon.com/antichef to support this show. You help me out in a very big way, and I offer a little extra over there. So check it out if you're interested. If not, totally cool too. This was Jamie and Julia. Bon appetit. Au revoir.